And
No,
I
I
say
can
this, but he needs to remain back.
Spilo,
He needs to remain not.
Shut up. I can fix it tomorrow. I just don't want to because it doesn't matter if I fix it because every single tank in 5v5 is similar to Roadhog. So why would you specifically make Roadhog a more fair hero when none of the fucking tanks are fair because D.Va can micro you from across the map and kill you instantly from anywhere, and that is just the world we're in. Why would I fix specifically Roadhog, who is a problematic character in this one specific way, a tiny bit more maybe than the other characters, but at this point I feel like D.Va's more unfun than Roadhog to play against. It is all bad. We're like an infinite bucket of bad, and you're like, this guy's bad, and I'm like, yeah, and you're like, fix this guy, and I'm like, what's the point? It's all the apples are rotten. Why you give me a bucket of rotten apples?
I value my balls too much.
That's an excellent place to start.
Is something new about Roadhog? No, okay, so I had this thing. I had the whole thing about like why Roadhog doesn't work. And freaking Relv, I hate that guy. Literally the worst person on earth.
Love you too.
Decided to do some Roadhog video like 2 to 3 days before I was planning to do mine. And I'm like, frick, man.
I'm going to leak a DM that I sent him. I'm going to read it to you, okay? So on the 24th of the 7th, okay? So literally last month, I sent him, got something coming out in the next week or two on Roadhog and tanking on that subject. And he took my comment on Roadhog coming out and independently came up with the idea of doing content on f***ing Roadhog. Yeah, it's my problem. I just happen to be faster than you, right? Despite taking a month to come out since then. Jesus Christ, Spilo.
Yeah, so anyway, I messaged Ralph and I'm like, screw you, idiot. I'm going to do it anyway.
He did.
And he was like, CBA. And then he started yelling at me and I started yelling at him and we got into a fist fight. And,
he did. That is
dude,
true.
I don't snooze.
But I won the fist fight because I'm stronger and prettier than him.
Man, I don't snooze.
Did the DMs organize a 1v1? No, it's much more fun to talk shit than it is to actually organize a 1v1, guys.
I think like the best way to kind of structure this, I feel like we just kind of go into it. Ralph released a freaking Roadhog video, so sit here and look at his stupid British face. Why is Roadhog so terrible?
God,
shut up, Ralph.
attractive.
Nobody asks your freaking 46-minute opinion. Just for that, I'm gonna do 47 minutes and just dunk on him. So anyway, I haven't seen this video. I do want to I told him we'd look at it because I'm curious to see what he has to say. I think his is also like more, at least looking at the timestamps, is more of like a historical opinion on Roadhog, and mine's going to be a little bit of history, but also kind of...
Because I needed that history in order to set up all the arguments, because my arguments are a line of pins that you knock over one by one, and at the end, you have to agree with me. That's the idea of the video, and I think it did pretty well at that, personally.
Stuff. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of talk about that. So I guess we can start with this. Let's start with this. Like everybody, like Roadhog, when we did the most hated hero list, like Roadhog was was pretty remarkably consistently hated, even when he's not particularly strong. Whereas a lot of the other tanks are more hated depending on their meta strength. Roadhog has been universally hated. Yep. And the best part about Roadhog's universal hate is that he's been universally hated for years. Like you can literally draw lines back to Roadhog hate 7 years ago. 7 years of hate.
8 years? 8 years. Definitely 8 years, Spilo.
For Roadhog. And there's been different reasons why he's been hated over time, but he's arguably the most hated character in Overwatch history.
There's hundreds of reasons.
Up there with Mercy, but the thing that makes Roadhog unique is not just the longevity of the hate, but also the broad hatred. Where Mercy players are really hated by like tanks and or DPS players especially, right? But everybody hates Roadhog. Everybody hates Roadhog. And the best part about Roadhog is, like Mercy, is there's been a few iterations of Roadhog, and he continues to be annoying despite that. So let's start with this.
Yeah,
I'm going to change a little thing here, and we're going to change it to Roadhog. Roadhog sucks. With an X, because we're hip like that. Why do you guys hate Roadhog? Why do you guys hate Roadhog? Because the more I thought about Roadhog, especially because I'm super like quasi, I came up with a couple of reasons that I think why people really hate Roadhog that are not necessarily the most common reasons brought up. Unfun to play versus, but why?
Like we're in the future.
Everything.
It's almost
he can't be good. The game isn't fun. Forces me to think. Either unavoidable one shot or useless. He's ugly.
And they got quite a lot.
Okay, so I actually thought about that. I actually was thinking yesterday, how many nice characters are hated? How many like pretty attractive characters are hated? Is it just Mercy? Is Mercy the only like attractive character that people hate?
Everyone knows that being attractive is a big step up in life, which is why I'm so successful in all the things I do.
Yeah, but Kiriko is cringe. Like it's not. I'm talking about like attractive and like pleasant. Mei is weird. Sombra's annoying. Kiriko's annoying personality-wise, right?
The fuck?
Who's a nice, sweet character that everybody hates? I think it's just Mercy. I didn't mean like physically attractive necessarily. Like I would describe Winston as attractive. He's literally a monkey just because he's nice and pleasant and happy.
Brig was
kind of annoying early on release, maybe. I think Lucio, Ryan, Winston. I don't know, we won't get into it. Anyway, long story short. Yeah, you guys are bringing up some good points here. So let's go back in the day here. I mean, this is going to be a little bit goofy with the structure. We might have to go back and post and edit some of the stuff up here. So why do people, like, if Hog is so hated, why do people play Hog? Why do people play Hog?
Because they want your SR. The reason why people historically played Hog was because they liked playing an unfair character. that can insta-kill you from across the map and just stomp a lobby. That's the reason why they played it. It's not anything to do with the... And do you know the reason why I know this? Because I made a fucking 46-minute video on why Roadhog is so terrible, with the conclusion being that no Roadhog players actually care about the theory of Roadhog and the design of Roadhog and the hero design of Roadhog. And do you know what I got in the comments? I got like 3 people disagreeing with me. There were like 3 Roadhog mains there. Like, they were like, well, I like the fact that he's large. And I'm like, okay, so it's like 3 of you, yeah? Like 1% of the total Roadhog population is people that actually care about the character. All right, that's unfair, yeah.
Be cool, because he's easy. I disagree with that. I think Hog has one of the higher skill floors of all the tanks. You heard me right? In other words, to pick up Roadhog, being a new player, I think Roadhog is one of the hardest tanks to pick
reaction?
up. Not the hardest to master by any means, but I think the mechanical, entry-level mechanics makes this character like really awkward to play. Yeah, I think Hook is one of the most satisfying things in the game to land, for sure. I think there's 2 reasons why people play Roadhog. Two reasons. Number 1, Hook just is amazing, right? And the second thing is this. It's autonomy. It's the feeling, whether it's true or not, of that I'm not relying off of my team for me to be able to just have fun. You're not relying off of your team. You can just do your own thing, right? Now, obviously, that's not true, right? At least all the way. But it's the fact that, oh, I have autonomy. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
right?
independence.
You don't have to rely on support. You don't have to rely on your team. And this is even true.
That's one of the things
like,
I didn't really cover.
Like, oh, I don't have to rely on my other team to take space. I can just kind of do my own thing. So that's why people play Roadhog.
My arguments, my video, were very specifically aligned towards creating an argument for later on in the video.
And the funny thing about that is that also is really, I guess we can start with
I did have to ignore a couple of things.
Roadhog because he's not on paper a team player. You see, even back in Overwatch 1, when people played Roadhog, it's because he was strong or whatever, but Roadhog functioned largely the same. No pun intended. He kind of took his position, he fished for hooks, he did damage, he healed himself when he was low, and he didn't really work with his team all that much. Now, you did work through rank.
And it's weird that his description goes exactly the same direction as my description, explaining that Roadhog is still somebody that tanks and does proper tanking by moving people around with the threat of hook, that sort of stuff.
And there's also no indirect value of, hey, look at me, bait your attention, and then I'm kind of like...
Oh, do not talk about Roadhog baiting attention, Spilo. I will eat my hair.
Like, even Ramancha, right, is like, he's a big threatening guy. He doesn't really protect his team that much beyond Shadow and Shield, but he's not going to one-shot you necessarily. He's just going to be a punching bag for his team. And people appreciate that, right? Not even shout, right? People appreciate that. People look at that and be like, oh, that guy's, he's sacrificing himself, or he's providing value, or peeling, or helping, or pressuring. And we've talked about how some of our impressions of tank as being only a tank sponge, or damage sponges is inaccurate, but Roadhog has always been exclusively pressure, no real protection. And that is annoying. It's like the equivalent of playing with a hotshot in your sport of choice. It's something that never compromises their own value for the team. They're only playing for themselves. Now, you might win the game,
I agree.
the game, but it's never about you or you or you.
And I weave that into the conversation about early history of Roadhog and the fact that people generally liked shield tanks and that sort of stuff.
About me. So psychologically, it's already annoying. If we win because of a Roadhog, it's because he's just going to hit a bunch of hooks and kill people. You're not really contributing to the team value. Now, does that mean that's a fundamentally flawed character? Not really, but it is unique within the tank slot because most tanks provide at least...
Yeah, no, the selfishness doesn't make him
a little bit of indirect, right? At least a little bit. Or at least give the impression
toxic in a way that's non-fixable.
Right? So that's the thing. And the thing is that when people are looking for something to just get free value, it feels so easy to choose Roadhog, right? We talked about why do people play Roadhog in the first place, and they just want the autonomy. They want the individual selfish value, and that even attracts the wrong type of player for what we're trying to do within the role. You might be like, well, I'd like to have a character that appeals to DPS players, but it's not just the DPS players, it's also the DPS or the tank player that's mad at the team. You see, if you think about it, when do people swap Roadhog? When do people swap Roadhog? It's not because, oh, it makes the most sense in the situation. 90-95% of the time. They go,
currently or previously, I feel like Roadhog players used to lock Roadhog and stay on Roadhog in 6v6. I feel like for the most part, there weren't that many people that swapped to Roadhog mid-match in 6v6. I don't know if people can confirm nor deny this. Like in the current life, it's because you want to be autonomous. Previously, it was just because you're kind of in my opinion.
Roadhog because they're upset at their team. And they either directly or indirectly want to either, I want to do what I want to do, or I want to screw you over by taking Roadhog.
So definitely now, I agree with
you guys suck. You guys suck. I'm just going to play my own game, right? And so it's anger. It's an emotional response. And
Before Roadhog, Hog was the rage pick? Before Roadhog, yeah. But once Roadhog came in, I didn't really see people swap off like Diva to Roadhog or Rhine to Roadhog. I guess it's the fuck you pick.
You see how that probably I agree. Roadhog even worse? Because whenever people think Roadhog, they may not even consciously think of it, but unconsciously or subconsciously, they're associating all those games where something unpleasant goes badly, before Roadhog, their DPS or the tank just gives up and goes Roadhog, or in current 5v5, the tank goes mad and you just stop Roadhog. And they're not even good. And this is maybe the worst failure of Roadhog of all. Think of this up, is that what does failure look like with Roadhog? This may be the most underrated, most important reason why Roadhog is a terrible tank. What does failure look like with Roadhog? In fact, let's actually go backwards.
Standing on me.
What does failure look like with Winston? What does failure look like with Winston? You guys have all seen it. Dice. You've seen it, right?
He's going to say, I think he's going to say that it's possible to think you're having an effect while having no effect whatsoever.
What does failure look like with Diva? Diva's a little bit hit or miss. You can live a long time, but D-Mech, again. What does failure look like with Doomfist? Junker Queen. Even Malga, right? Heck, even Orisa.
The reason for that is that Roadhog is a poke character while the other characters are brawl characters. So the brawl characters have a direct correlation of resources with effectiveness, where Roadhog has a non-correlation with resources with effectiveness because he doesn't need to brawl as much.
We all know the answer, right? Reinhardt, certainly.
That's the reason for it.
Failure.
I have I've popped in at certain points in it and seen like the general way he went, but I have not
the
watched
obvious
this.
failure,
No.
right? So with you talk about some of these other tanks.
I've watched like the last 10 minutes.
The tankier tanks, a lot of the failure that they have most of the time comes through dying. And why that's important is it's feedback. It's not always the most accurate and contextual and nuanced feedback, but it is feedback. Whereas a failure with roadhog is this. And you might go, oh, you know, man, my hook actually is really bad, right? But you might also do this and then do dopamine, 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 heal myself, dopamine, missed again. But you know what? Dopamine, shoot that tank.
It's one of these weird things where I entirely am on board with his arguments for the feeling of the video game. I am on board with it at low rank, but I feel like most of it drops off pretty damn fast once you get to kind of like mid rank, so you get to 100 hours gameplay. And I agree, it's very important to have those two things line up. I'll keep him playing. I don't really have a full
okay, he'll feed some ult charge to the enemy team. Oh, okay, dopamine, dopamine. You understand what I'm saying? You can actually feel like you're doing things and miss the biggest spike of value in your entire kit.
Kind of brushed over what failure looks like on the other poke tanks. Yeah, well, that's the thing. What does failure look like on Sigma, guys? It's a weird thing, and I feel like part of it is his kind of like argument for taunting in the PvP game kind of thing, like he does all the time, where he's essentially like, well, I'm a big guy, I'm taking a lot of attention, this is what tanking is in a weird way. And Roadhog shouldn't feel good to shoot, and characters shouldn't feel good to shoot, when the actual truth is Roadhog should feel slightly less good to shoot because he is a poke character and therefore shooting him won't stop his effectiveness. Whereas Reinhardt should feel slightly more good to shoot consistently because shooting him actually stops him doing things. And the trouble with playing around with the effectiveness or the feeling that it is effective to shoot Roadhog and Sigma and other characters like that is that contextually it is really good, and not even really good, really fucking important to shoot these characters contextually. And you can't make a unilateral feeling decision based off a contextual if it is good or not, right? People just have to learn that because it's contextual. In Reinhardt can feel good to shoot because shooting Reinhardt in general, for the most part in the game, is a good general thing to do. And that's the thing, like, once you get past the first level, where quite clearly all of these things are contextual as to whether you shoot them or not, why are we playing around with this in the first place? Why are we playing around with the feeling of what feels good to do? I agree that they should more or less gel with what is good to do, but why are we doing extra thought into it when it's contextual anyway? So I just explained that like 3 times in a row.
But it's not.
Thank you for your patience.
I'm shooting that tank. I'm gonna break that shield. I missed the hook. That's okay. I'm not even demanding all that healing for my support, right, guys? See, I have my own health self heal, not realizing that your Moira's throwing like 7 heal orbs your way, right? You just kind of exist and do your thing, you know? And a lot of people look at that and be like, yeah, that's why Roadhog's so easy. But I would go opposite. That's why Roadhog's so easy to screw up. Because you feel always like you're doing things, even if the biggest spike in your value is not actually happening. And so you get incorrect feedback. The feedback is lying to you. Yeah, similar to...
I don't agree with him. I think the hook missing is actually very good feedback that you're not doing anything. I think Roadhog players feel really bad with the hook is missing.
Because you feel like, oh, I'm self-sufficient.
Video game, the right decision should feel good. But what if it's a right decision some of the time and the wrong decision some of the time? Right? Are we going to change the feeling of the game based on the fact that contextually sometimes it's better? Are we going to make it always feel better? Are we going to make it always feel worse? And Spilo's general argument has been we're going to make shooting tank feel worse as a concept because for the most part shooting tank is bad as a concept, but it's only contextually bad to shoot tank.
The enemy tank, even though he or she may be dying, is creating more space, forcing more CDs, maybe demanding fewer resources, building more valuable, and so on, so on, so on, so on. And you do that, and that's it. Like, your value tanks, and people just don't realize that, especially because you can just,
I think people, for the most part, do realize that for the most... Like, I don't think I'm gelling with your idea.
Sit here and do chip damage.
If you're landing
the problem
hooks
is
feel great and you're
immediate
doing your job,
feedback
you miss
off
it,
of your
you're not getting value.
You guys ever played Widowmaker? How many of you guys have played Widowmaker and gotten flamed by your teammates? Oh, you're not showing up the kill feed, Widow. Bro, hit a headshot, Widow. Widow, hit a headshot! Right? How many that happens all the time, right? So, with Widow, it's the same thing. You could argue, okay, if you don't hit the headshot, it's not worth playing character. But see, for whatever reason, because Widow in our eyes has that headshot potential, and that's also that she does, which is not really true. We don't hold Roadhog to the same standard.
I think we do. I think we do hold Roadhog to the same standard. I'm sorry, Spilo. I just kind of disagree with this.
You can kind of see him doing damage. You can see him getting in there and and doing damage. Oh yeah, he missed the hook. But, I mean, you guys have probably been flamed for missing a lot of hooks. You probably have. But I bet Ferrari, okay, your firstborn child, that you've flamed or been flamed for missing hooks at a fraction of the rate that the Widowmaker does for missing the headshot, even though it's essentially the same thing.
It's not essentially the same thing because Wood is a DPS character and Roadhog is the one tank right now. Yeah, I mean, you could put the context back in Overwatch 1 where if you had a Reinhardt and a Roadhog and there was a Widow, I still think that they got flamed more or less the same amount. I think Roadhogs got flamed quite a bit back then for not doing cool. And I think Widow's got flamed quite a bit back then for not doing cool. So, like, does it really match up? Is it just because the Roadhog is actually a bigger part of the team because they're like 1.5 characters in Overwatch 2? Yeah, it's a bit of a wash, I think.
I provide more pressure on the Widowmaker because, yeah, I don't want to say the one shot, but I also do, but you're playing versus the enemy tank. You need to get the enemy tank. So that's why Roadhog fails. There's no immediate feedback on your failure.
Okay. That's fair enough. One could say that Roadhog did always have more passive value than Widow did, as the alternative to that, though, I guess.
Consistently. And the reason why people play him is because they want that autonomy. They don't
Even if that is true, maybe it's fine.
Have to be team player, and people resent that. And it leads to...
You want them more or less to gel. The amount that they're being flamed to gel with the lack of effectiveness for them, the feeding, right?
Let's talk about Roadhog's existence here in terms of what value he gets historically. Roadhog has always been a one-shot skill. So not only is that a problem in terms of exactly how much value and how much feedback you're getting from the failure, but the problem from this also extends into when you're playing Roadhog, all of your skill is pretty much tied into your hook. A lot of it is. So you think, okay, why is that such a bad thing? You know, it's like a lot of the other one-shot characters. Well, the problem is who gets mad when you get hooked? Who gets mad when you get hooked? Who gets mad when you get hooked? Right? Everyone does. So why is it that when we're talking about one-shots, we're not mad at a Reinhardt charge, but we're mad at a Roadhog hook? I think you might be mad at a Reinhardt charge. You might have been mad at...
It's kind of fortuitous that he talks about Reinhardt charge after I'm here.
The Hanzo shot, right? You might be mad at a Widow shot. One-shots are annoying. But why is Roadhog's hook so much more infuriating?
Because Roadhog has telegraphing that doesn't really matter because Roadhog has so much health that he has access to apply the one-shot to you in a way that is fundamentally unfair due to him being a tank.
Risk, right. Widowmaker's existence.
Yeah, no risk. Now, sure. No risk, but no access.
She might play a million miles away, and that's when Widowmaker's the most...
No ability to move Roadhog around. It takes a shitload of resources to stop... It takes more than one person's resources to stop the Roadhog being able to walk over you. It takes the entire team's effort to stop the Roadhog walking over you. In terms of Widow, it takes one person's effort to stop them being able to peek.
Most annoying. But
it is fundamentally unfair.
There is some threat and you can't outplay or counterplay that. It's when you can't that people hate Widowmaker. Hanzo, same thing. You can just kill the guy. Now you're like, well, I can't reach him, or he just was spamming on a choke, and that's why I really hate him. Okay, then again, it's the same thing. Those are the one shots I don't like. Reinhardt, a pin, random pin, annoying. But if he pins on my backline and kills somebody, if you're mad at that, maybe that's your problem. Because again, risk.
I don't think Reinhardt pinning into your backline is actually very much risk nowadays. I think Reinhardt, for the most part, with a lot of asterisks, should be charging into your backline off cooldown as long as he's on full HP, and should be conserving his HP in order to be able to do that. I think that's how Reinhardt's played nowadays for the most part, until you get up into high level, especially at the low to mid ranks. If I have a silver Reinhardt player, I will 10 out of 10 times tell him that whenever he's on full HP to immediately charge into the backline of the enemy team and try and murder someone. That's just what I'll do. That's my coaching, because that is actually what's good to do on Reinhardt at the low level. There is very little risk with the amount of health he has now and the amount of armor he has.
The problem with Roadhog hook is when you see a Roadhog peeking angle here, what's your counterplay to this there? What's your counterplay?
Literally cool.
What's your counterplay? Covered. Don't forget he's there. So then do you punish the Roadhog? So Roadhog, oh no, he missed the hook. So how do you punish the Roadhog now? What's your counterplay to the Roadhog?
Yeah, and he's gelling with me on this.
Nothing. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. You can't even push him because he's gonna vape and walk away. You can't even animate him. The most of the time with the range the hook operates and the help pool you're doing, if you miss a hook, you cannot punish the guy. You see, this ties back into what we were just talking about, where the punishment is missing the hook and the lack of value that he gets afterwards. You get what I'm saying? The punishment is that, oh, now the Roadhog is not particularly useful. But that doesn't feel good for me playing into the Roadhog. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's, oh, either I deny the burst of value and you go back to ignoring him, but when a Reinhardt misses a charge, or when a I know Sniper's not the best example. In fact, they're a pretty bad example. But if any other character, even a Venture, right, or Echo or a Genji dashes in for a combo, there's a risk involved in that play. And so if they fail, the result is what? Death!
There's the way you need to do your charges, so you use cover. Yeah, no, I agree. But the point is, I will always tell them to pin, because if I tell them that it is good to pin off cooldown, they'll start learning this implicitly. And the using cover and other stuff like that. It's not that they have to do it in a completely unfair, brain-dead way. It's that it is still good to do.
And you are the one that delivers
it intelligently.
And that is feeling good. That feels good. Roadhog misses hook. He's basically good as dead. But the problem is he doesn't know it, and you don't know it. You don't feel good. Oh, wow, guys. High fives, everybody. Nice juke on that hook. Good job on that cover. You said great movement. Nice job, guys. We're more likely to win this fight now. You don't get the feedback for that, right? You don't get the feedback for it. So that's not rewarding the play versus a Roadhog in the same way that it feels to reward any other mistake from anybody else.
Yep,
so a lot of it comes
right.
down to focus the hog when he's playing aggressively. Avoid the hook. Oh, hook down, ignore him. And that's just a terrible gameplay loop where somebody's incredibly important and they're totally useless, but when they're totally useless, they're not in the spawn room. Here's a hot take, guys. If you're totally useless hero, you should be in the spawn room. You should be in the spawn room, right? You should be in the spawn room. You see, that's why a lot of other heroes are kind of ugly, right? Like if you think about like a flank Moira, right? Like, let's say there's like a flank Moira. Why is flank Moira kind of like, it's an effective playstyle, but why is it a bad playstyle? Think about it for a second. Not a terrible playstyle, but like a bad health for the game playstyle. What is a Moira failing to do on a flank if she doesn't get the kill? Think about it for a second. What's the risk of taking a flank as Moira? She's not supporting. She's not healing. Now, Moira is good at that, and in many ways, Moira should be taking off angles and aggression. But when a Moira fails on a flank, it's probably not going to result in her death. Probably not going to result in her death because she has so many defensive CDs. So when a Moira fails in a flank, how does the Moira get punished? She doesn't do anything. She gets her Fade Force, maybe she gets her Healer Force, and then she kind of has to AFK for.
Yeah, and that's one of the that is one of the reasons why she's so frustrating. It's one of the things, that's why Moira is by definition less lethal than any other character, because forcing her Fade back to main, even if it's not really effective, it does put her out of risk state and enables you to dive her and stuff like that. It does enable her to die at random if she fucks it up. Like, Moira is obviously one of the less healthy characters, but it is interesting to be able to have a Moira doing that.
But again, you don't get oh!
At least then, if a Moira's on a flank, you can push her out theoretically.
Nice! We got the kill on the Moira. It's just not likely to happen as much. Draxmore, think of this up. Her team gets punished, right? Or she gets forced to AFK in the same fashion of a roadhog. Sure. That's why people hate Kiriko. It's the same thing. What's the risk out of Kiriko taking an off angle and poking you? What's the risk for the Kiriko?
There's absolutely no risk because her healing's so high that she just is as good on main as she is on the off angle for the most part. You may as well have a gambit at the off angle. It doesn't matter if you get
with Suzu and TB. Tell me about it. Almost zero. Almost zero. Because what does she do? She
and that's the like, good on main, good on the off angle. Good on main, good on the off angle. You shouldn't have both at exactly the same time. If you have both at the same time, there's no reason to push you out the off angle. Or it feels bad to push you out the off angle, so you don't actually get anything from doing it.
Now the question is forcing Kiriko to TP out and forcing Kiriko to Suzu herself and her losing the angle value? Yes, massive value. Huge work. Timothy, think of the sub. It's very good for your team.
Not if she doesn't Suzu.
It significantly increases your chances of winning the fight by forcing Kiriko TP and Suzu. Very great. Good job. But I don't like it! It's not fun! Oh, I force TP and Suzu. We're going to have a so-and-so percentage of winning the game. But I don't care.
No, I think forcing TP and Suzu is fine if Kiriko wasn't exactly as effective on the main angle as the off angle. If we just brought Kiriko's healing down by like 20 health per second, it would be fine.
Right? I don't care.
Because she would be so much less effective on main than
that's why you have all these people complaining about Kiriko because they're like, oh, Kiriko's broken. No, she's not OP, but you don't see that we won the fight after forcing a TP and Suzu necessarily. You don't get that dopamine of actually.
And I know this is an argument for skill curve. This is an argument for low ranks going up into high ranks. This is an argument for whether low rank players get that it is good to do this versus high rank players obviously getting it versus low rank players feeling good when it happens versus high rank players not caring if it feels good because they understand the game at a fundamental level. So it is a complicated like thing to track through.
Should involve risk. There needs to be risk involved when you make plays.
Mercy Brig is a viable comp.
While permanent stealth, I'm not a fan of that.
I'm not surprised by that.
But at least the translocator change. I know some people are like, oh, I don't like translocator, all somber dumb. But you know what? At least the new translocator, there's risk involved whenever you go for backline. You might die.
Mercy Brig's always been fine. They're two angular supporting heroes that enable you to push out angles in an interesting way. As long as Mercy Brig have enough throughput in order to keep a tank up, they will be viable together. If you can Reinhardt with Mercy and Brig just spends 2 packs on the Reinhardt, Mercy heals the Reinhardt, and he's being healed for like 120 HPS, like, that's fine. It's still a problem if your top players care or don't care how it feels. If it feels then it's bad. True, but for top players it is mitigated because they have the understanding that it is still good to do. And the top players are more likely to be able to capitalize upon the advantage state because they recognize it, right? So it is mitigated at high ranks. At low ranks, it is a problem you really do have to solve.
You might die. And so when I kill a Sombra that's messed up a translocator, everybody's happy. You know why? Because the Sombra goes, I messed that up. At least she should. And the person that killed Sombra says, yeah, get fricked, baby! Woo! Enjoy the spawn room, trash can! You know what I'm saying? There's actual risk involved, and that's what we want. That's what we want. There needs to be risk. And the problem, we're going back to Roadhog here, and I hope you see how we're tying this all in, is that when a Roadhog makes a mistake, you don't get the dopamine of punishing that mistake. Like,
so his argument is that in order to be lethal, there needs to be risk. I understand that, and I get that. But I feel like this balance has massively tipped in a way that is unfair for certain players because you can arbitrarily end up in a situation where you have no way of outplaying or counterplaying the tank doing something aggressively into you. So even if the tank does have to risk, they can theoretically trade without you being able to do anything about dying to them. And if they can arbitrarily trade with you, just for funsies, because they randomly decide to, because there's some sort of fucking idiot at low rank, then we've got an issue because you're going to get mixed feedback. And the mixed feedback is, I've died, and at a low rank, people don't care if they win or lose, they care if it feels bad. So if the Reinhardt randomly charges them halfway across the map, charge cancels, and kills them, and feeds for it, and they win, they won't feel good. They will get the feedback that that was a bad place to stand, even if it was the correct place to stand. It's a negative feedback cycle for them. Therefore, they'll play a little bit more narrow, and therefore the rest of the argument comes through.
You do not get the punishment.
There you go.
Don't get the dopamine. The counterplay isn't obvious. The counterplay, in many ways, and see, this is why this also applies to a couple of characters, but the counterplay of Roadhog is oftentimes a character like Reinhardt. And you're like, oh no, Reinhardt gets countered by Roadhog. Not really. Not really. Because if you shield the hook, you will lose less HP than the Roadhog will lose. And so what ends up happening is his supports, he has to use more resources or demand more resources than you do, so that then you will indirectly win the fight on main, or you will win the fight on the flanks. If you're falling asleep out of boredom, you and me both. That's not a very fun way to win the game. Oh, I shielded your hook.
Even if it's a bad trade for the tank can still trade. That's the issue.
Right? I win now.
That's a scary
And the
part.
best part is the Roadhog's probably have more fun than you because he gets to keep shooting. He's stupid. He doesn't know what's going on. But he's like, oh, I love this match. I'm countering the Reinhardt. And so there has to be like more direct feedback about when you fail a play, and that hasn't changed. Back in Overwatch 1, we had a period of time. You guys, were, kind of the priority pass. You guys remember the priority pass?
Free to play the game
where
again? Nice.
they talked about it recently in the devlog, and they're like,
Soda,
hey, we need to play tank back in old 66.
You see me drinking an infinite amount of monsters on stream, dude.
Now, again, another mark against Roadhog players because that's all people do. Let's just farm out this place, get some nice satisfying hooks. I don't care about winning. I don't care about losing. Let's just lock Roadhog. And again, this also goes back to the design flaw. The character is so incredibly selfish and one-dimensional that if you pick Winston Roadhog, get fricked. If you pick Diva Roadhog, get fricked. Zarya Roadhog, also fricked. Sigma Roadhog, a little better, but mostly frickage. Arista Roadhog, oh no, that's an old meta comp, but still bad, so you're fricked.
No, I need to listen to this,
Roadhog.
actually.
And again, this also goes back to the design flaw. The character is so incredibly selfish and one-dimensional that if you pick Winston Roadhog, get fricked. If you pick
Winston Roadhog, yeah. Bull Roadhog was
Diva
good.
Roadhog, get fricked.
Diva Roadhog. This is to do with the fact that Roadhog has no cross-pollinating resources, which obviously I've solved.
Zarya Roadhog, also fricked. Sigma Roadhog,
Sorry,
a little better,
Roadhog, yeah.
but mostly frickage. Arista Roadhog,
Sigma Roadhog was a very good comp. What are you talking about? Mostly frickage. Like, literally, what the f*** are you talking about, Spilo? Like, Sigma Roadhog was always good. They just need to be played on split angles. And I agree the community education wasn't good enough in the past, so they for the most part weren't played on angles, but you had a lot of... Yeah. That's weird. That's weird that you say Sigma
oh no, that's an old meta comp, but still bad, so you're fricked.
Arista Roadhog was bad? Not really. I mean...
You know what? Wrecking Ball Roadhog, get fricked, especially. Get fricking to the extra level, fricking them, okay?
What?
And it's just more fricking. And basically, there's no value there outside of from kind of holding an angle.
What? Is he saying they're bad comps? What is he saying? Bull Roadhog was really good.
Things, right? You just shoot things, right? There's no synergy, there's no complement. You know, even in...
There is synergy. The synergy is he's a poking character that can clear out angles with his poking. What the fuck are you talking about?
Like, you know,
And he can use angles once he's provided them.
You know, you can Winston can dive, the Reinhardt walks over the shield, takes space. It just doesn't, it's not as creative with Roadhog. And so people really hated Roadhog as a result. But then we move into Solo Tank era, and Roadhog's still dominating. Not necessarily always with the best win rate, although that has happened at times, but just being a general ass. Obnoxious.
Cock and bull comp on top? No, genuinely, what the f is he talking about with his comp stuff? Is he just misremembering everything? Have I thought way more about 6v6 combinations than Spilo has, and he just doesn't get it? Like, what?
Annoying, and so on. So, word on the street is...
That's weird.
Thank you for the 30 bits again, I appreciate that so much. Only my fourth born shout out to you. Guys, Roadhog's getting a rework, right? What was this, like a year and a half ago? What year was it? It's gonna get a rework. You're gonna fix all the problems with Roadhog. Now, you notice that we haven't necessarily brought up one shot. We haven't really brought up the self-heal and so on. We kind of brought up the environment of like what is wrong with Roadhog. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about some things that we can do. But yeah, whatever. Roadhog's gonna get a rework, guys. So instead of addressing, I don't want you guys to talk about hook or vape. What were the overarching goals that need to change the Roadhog? More risk. More options with what you do. More risk. More options. Maybe a little bit more counterplay at the same time. So because Roadhog was historically something that was very vulnerable to a couple of different things. So can you address some of those pain points while also introducing pain points elsewhere? You see, the point of reworks is not to remove weaknesses. It's to address overwhelmingly.
Yeah, he literally named all of the good comps. Like, shall we bring up the list and just say there's like 2 comps left that he's fine with? Like, what are we talking about here? We've gone Reinhardt, Winston, Bull, Zarya, Diva, Sigma, Arista. There were only 8 tanks in Overwatch 1. Like, what comps was Roadhog good with? When everyone kind of knows Roadhog was generically good. They didn't have synergy, they were just good. I disagree. I think Bull had good synergy with Roadhog. I think Sigma had good synergy with Roadhog, and I think Arista had good synergy with Roadhog. Because doubling up on a poke solution is always good, and having an initiator that's independent with a poke solution is also quite good.
Terrible weaknesses while introducing other weaknesses and other aspects. People don't like characters that have ridiculously strong strengths and ridiculously strong weaknesses. It's why Widowmaker is hated.
Cover Spilo's chat
It's very
box.
easy to counter Widowmaker, but if you
It's too much
don't
effort.
have the situation that hero pull the map for it, it's impossible. People are like, no, you don't even realize it, but you do. All the most hated characters in the game are generally very one-dimensional. So,
Yeah, he
we need to
mentions
do some
Zarya Hawk
choice
as
with
if it's
Roadhog,
good.
some dynamics of how he plays. We need to introduce some weaknesses into his raw self-sustain and his reliance off of self-sustain, and so on, and so on, and so on.
Hook can follow with slams and pulls, yep, from Bull and Arista. And I think even without that synergy, Didact, without him being able to follow up with Hook on the slam or the Holt, I still think those characters would be good together because they do complementary things. Having a good poke solution based off Roadhog and a good poking angle based off Roadhog being allowed to get there because the ball has slammed in is good. I think Arista and Hawk being able to split angles as good poking solutions is good.
Now, one thing that Roadhog was relatively weak to, game browser includes
The way they
custom
were.
knowledge. The one thing that Roadhog was relatively weak to is he wasn't actually the best frontline trader because he was a bit of a damage sponge. He had no real form of damage mitigation aside from his heal, which was counterable and interruptible and put on cooldown. And so, you know, you could shield Hook and then get to swinging on the guy or shooting, poking out the guy and kind of force him into more of a poke playstyle, right? Roadhog was historically more of a mid-range tank because of that. And so the rework comes around.
Yeah, I get you, Ten.
And they remove all weak points with his vape. No counterplay at all with vape. They remove more frontline presence. They do not address one shot besides giving it one extra step.
Which they reverted, by the way.
And then, in an already relatively simple character, once you get over the skill floor, right, they remove dynamics of playstyle and skill expression. with a weapon. Let's break these down point by point.
I genuinely took out like 2 pages on the weapon, by the way. It could have been over an hour long, that video, but I took out a significant amount of talking about the weapon because I thought this would be a really controversial thing to complain about, because I thought people have mostly accepted that left click needed to be reworked. But it turns out I should have put them back in because I have some killer arguments for that.
What did they do to the hook? Nothing. Okay, it's fine. Maybe there's something else that they can do with hook. Did they give him an opportunity to reposition himself? No. No. Okay, so what else did they do? So we gave him Pigpen. Do you guys remember what the terminology of Pigpen was? More frontline presence. Hilarious. A destructible on a 12, or I think it was longer than that, second cooldown, is a frontline presence.
Oh yeah, I prefer his old right click as well.
Because that's exactly what a character with 0 damage mitigation needs, right? More
Yeah, no, I agree entirely with both of you.
frontline presence. Perfect. Great. Nice. They added Pigpen because they wanted to make one shot a multi-step process.
Can we hear the arguments? So it's to do with the skill curve and the fact that Smurfs are more likely to play the character, in which case you are disincentivizing players from smurfing on the character because it has a skill curve in order to learn the 2 different fire modes. And then you have to weigh that against the gain or loss from having the random insta-kills from the right click and the dead zone in the middle of the thing that could be exploited by the other tank if the tank did mirror. I think there's a good argument to be made that the left click for Roadhog had to be reworked into its current state. Despite the fact that it does make it more likely that people are going to smurf on the character in order to stomp lobbies, as they, quite frankly, currently do. That's just what the character is used for. But it's a real hard one. It's a real hard one. I'd need to get them notes for any more discussion than that.
Yes. Okay, so it's not just hook and shot, so it has to take a little bit more time to set up. The problem with that mindset is that is the same logic that goes into people saying that give Hanzo his one shot back, just make it longer to induct.
It's the main thing that's
terrible idea, because all you do now is you make it even more consequential when you don't hit that one burst of value. You hit your hook on a Pigpen target with your primary fire, and the character is good. If you don't, the character is bad. How is that a successful rework? That is not a successful rework. Introducing more steps to achieve the peak and value needed for the character to do its job is not good.
But it had a good idea, and that's what people miss out on. And that's what I want to argue in my video. The rework for Roadhog actually was interesting, right? It actually was good. The Pigpen was good in theory as a concept. It was a good attempt, but it could never work because of the player base that they courted for Roadhog. Because the player base on Roadhog only enjoyed being able to actually get the insta-kill. If the insta-kill gets taken away from them by making it more telegraphed, therefore people being able to avoid it, despite the fact that they moved that person by telegraphing the hook and getting them to move, they don't care because they're not there to play the tanking game where they move people around. They're there to play the game where they're fat DPS that's able to kill people in an unfair way.
Good design. Because it puts them on a gameplay loop where it's essentially the same thing
over and over
and
and
over.
This will just be a patch. Please shove me the notes when it comes up, okay, guys?
Over again. Oh, and now we've made it worse. Because instead of having theoretical windows of vulnerability, where you could push him after Vape, right? Or you could. No, you can't, because now it's no longer on cooldown. It's essentially heal on demand. Oh, it has damage reduction now, so even the one counterplay or few counterplays available weren't there.
But that's necessary because the stuns are on the tanks by design in Overwatch 2. So if you have it on anything that's not a meter, it's a struggle. And you can make the meter need to be used. You can make it 2 vapes. You could be like, you can use half, and then you can half, and then he's a bit more punishable in some way, shape, or form. You could have it at the cooldown. He has two uses, and you can stun him out at the cooldown and punish him for that. But you need to mitigate the fact that he can be stunned because the enemy tank is just going to mirror him.
And this was especially bad because now, what was Roadhog really bad at historically? Not really good in frontline traits. Well, now, not only... So now, I appreciate the bits. Now, you have...
Agree
why is Roadhog now a frontline brawler? Like, not exclusively, but more frontline than...
Because every fucking character is a frontline brawler. Because it's not a brawler, Spilo. It's a bruiser. Do you remember that term they used? Bruiser? How they described how they're going to rework tanks into being bruisers in Overwatch 2. Do you know what that fucking means, Spilo? It means every tank's getting more similar to Roadhog. That's what they mean by bruiser. More ability to get kills on their own, more ability to be unstoppable and move people around in unfair ways, more ability to just exist in the front line and be able to contest points. That's what it means when they said bruiser. This was always where we were going, because everyone needs to be able to contest points. Everyone needs to have some sort of high ground contest. Everyone needs to be able to just like get kills in order to have the character be interesting enough for people to play it in the new game mode when you've taken out the depth.
We've ever seen. The reason is vape. The reason is vape. Because now you have damage reduction on demand. Yeah. So you have damage reduction and heal on demand. So you can get into your effective range and just pound and never have windows of vulnerability. Roadhog used to not be able to do this. You used to not be able to do this. Because if you did,
yeah,
if you force or cancel, you just died. You just died. But now you can. Now there's one other reason
why Roadhog is depressing block
and has fewer dynamics of position.
I love that
Roadhog
passage.
back in the day could do close range damage. It just was a little bit risky. Roadhog also could do mid range damage. It was just a little bit risky. Chat, back in the day when you missed hook, what did you do with Roadhog? What did you do? Think about it. You miss hook, your value's down, but it's actually not terrible because what can you do while you're waiting for hook? Alt fire. Right. You could alt fire.
Yep.
Because your pressure from alt-fire was pretty good. You can actually do decent damage to squishies and tanks.
But that's because you're on an angle, right? And you can't be on an angle currently because the enemy tank will just mirror you to stop hooks going into your backline. Like, there is no world in which you are playing a tank against a roadhog and you take an off angle from the roadhog. Can we just confirm that as a basis? Yeah.
From an alt-fire. So what ended up happening is, yes, you had bigger cycles of weakness. You were more killable because this was old vape. And if you missed the hook, you were able to contribute outside of the value. You could alt-fire. Now, I've seen a lot of people discuss why alt-fire was removed, because it was inconsistent value. I understand that totally. I'm not saying that alt-fire in the position that it was a perfect design by any means. I understand. But it's what gave Roadhog dynamics of both positioning and prevented Roadhog from being all or nothing.
I'm very surprised at the argument, because I thought he'd come out the other way.
So now we have all of this is around this playstyle, bam, bam, and then brawling the front line around our vape. Oh, and now I can use all my abilities for this as well. So there's no counterplay here. Was Whole Hog kind of inconsistent and weird with value? Yeah, a little bit. But now I have no windows of vulnerability at all. You see, people confuse dynamics and flexibility with zero vulnerability. That's not how it works. Remember, for every chink in the armor that you remove, you need to chip the armor elsewhere to make them small windows of vulnerability and to make the engagements and choices of how you play and when you play and where you.
And that's the one thing that Spilo is very clear on. Every time he incentivizes it, he takes one thing away. He acknowledges the fact that it needs to be, the power needs to be adjusted for in other areas.
Play what you do more interesting. You have to approach things in that manner. And I think that's what's missing with this character. Now, a lot of questions are like, okay, big yes, big guy, what do you do now? What do you do now? And I'm going to be perfectly and completely transparent with you guys. I don't know. I don't know. We put a lot of time into that Roadhog rework. We talked about using Hog. We even said something about like maybe when he's vaping, he can move faster. Maybe you can use grappling also as a repositioning tool. I thought one of the more interesting changes they did was
no, fuck off using his grapple as a repositioning tool. I am not having a Roadhog grappling around the map. Come on, guys. Come on.
Was it experimental? I don't remember what it was. When you could use
at that point, you're just making a different character.
Hook or reposition actually pulled you towards the target. So what I would do is I'd hold close off angles, and then I could either use the hook to secure a kill or reposition. So you had
which is cool, but you're just making a different character than Roadhog at that point.
They actually choose it. The problem with Hog is that the vape and then hook as a burst of wind, like a huge spike in your value.
What would be the cost of the consequence of just fixing him at the cost of the player base that Blizzard had caught it for him? Yeah, Ten, that's interesting to talk about because there is no real cost. And if we had his hook on like a 1 second, 2 second cast and had it so that it was clearly telegraphed when the hook was happening, we'd fix Roadhog. But that's not the issue, Ten. The issue is that every other fucking character in the game is a bruiser now, exactly the same or more similar to Roadhog than they used to be. The rot isn't the fact that Roadhog is still an issue. The rot is the fact that the entire game has characters that are more similar to Roadhog than they were before, because they accepted this as a good part of game design that should be imitated in some way, shape, or form. That's the issue. And you can fix Roadhog, it would fix Roadhog. But you still had everything else, and that was what I was trying to get at. That's why I didn't suggest this rework, even though I already knew that you could just put hook on a cast and make it take a couple of seconds in order to make it more fair, more telegraphed, and less lethal. But then you lose the player base, and importantly, the player base is still in tank, right? It's still in tank. It's just you can't fix it all because the problem isn't Roadhog. The problem is the fact that every single character is more like Roadhog.
Is pretty rough. There aren't a lot of good things that you can do with the character. You look at like how do you fix a character like Bastion, or how do you fix a character.
Took my like Roadhog idea and claimed it as his own.
It's hard, man.
Man, like 7 people had the same idea in the comments. You ain't unique. We all had the idea because my argument leads very clearly to that. I get it. You got to the end of the argument and you got to the right point, and I led you there by the hand, and you were like, oh, this, and I was like, yeah, the thing I was leading you to, yeah.
It's hard. So my recommendation,
straight behind the barn, gun to the back of the head.
With Hog is that they're gonna need. I don't know. They're gonna need to go back to the drawing board. They're going to need to go back to the drawing board, I think, this character. I know there are people that find a lot of value with Hawk. I know there are people that enjoy Hawk a lot. But
they don't need to go back to the drawing board. They need to go back to the drawing board on the idea of tanks being more lethal. That's what they need to go back to on the drawing board. Then you kiss him in the mouth after, there won't be a mouth left agile.
Really offends a large portion of the player base, and for good reason. He's not only now an anti-swishy tank, but he's also an anti-tank tank. And his value comes through existing on the front line and taking effective HP trades.
It's a good idea.
The worst thing about it is that even when he's failing, it doesn't feel like he's failing. And man, that feels like it's always a loss. It's always a loss.
But you're going to lose the player base, and you don't fix all the other issues. That's the issue.
They're going to have to go back to the drawing board.
You're going to lose the player base, and you don't fix
any I'm really concerned about this because a lot of people out there, I've heard that Roadhog function better in 66. He's fine in 66. The problem in 5v5 is that he just has to be this frontline brawler. Total copium, total nonsense. We played a lot of Roadhog in our 66, and the character was obnoxious to play versus in 66, just like he was for 66 for what?
But theoretically, there is a possibility that somebody on this planet could rework Roadhog to be less obnoxious, more team play oriented, and have better combinations with other characters in the video game so that he doesn't go off on lone roamer off angles. Theoretically, I'm sure somebody could work out something they could do, like maybe making it so he could donate vape to other people and give them damage reduction on a 20-meter radius on a cooldown that's the same as his, and he has to use it all in one go to make it so they have to be relatively close to a team, etc, etc, etc. I'm coaching you not watching, but I wanted to let you know you suck. Love you.
4 years, 5 years, and he was also very fat.
Yeah, maybe there's somebody here that could fix Roadhog theoretically in 6v6.
We before Overwatch 2 and testing it with the Overwatch 2 code afterwards. It was just awful. He is a fundamentally...
I don't know. And by the way, I don't want to work on implementation for this, but the 1 or 2 second hook load, the random saying, is perfect for our current Roadhog in 6v6. It works really well for the Roadhog in 6v6. It still has the same skill effect. It allows counterplay. It is more telegraphed. It works really well. I just don't want to get Didact to try and implement something like this because it seems like an absolute cluster. It seems really difficult to do. And also, when we're talking about telegraphing, Blizzard are the ones that are really good at making telegraphs. Players that are doing in the workshop and don't have animations to telegraph with and stuff like that have to put in really unintelligible telegraphs. Like, we'd have to do a glow effect on Roadhog while he was catching the hook. And who the f knows what a glow effect means on Roadhog while he's casting a hook, apart from the people that are obviously been told. It's not intuitive. We can't do it without actual ability to program the video game in a reasonable way. That's the reason why I haven't done it. But this rework works perfectly for everything that matters on Roadhog. Still keeps the one shot hook in check, does everything. It works amazing. Having him spin up his hook, what I think would be cool. Yeah, spin up his hook. Takes 1 second to spin up. You can hold it for 1 second. If you don't release it after 1 second, you have to put it back down. So the longer you spend spinning it, the more damage you're taking. The longer they spend blocking, the worse chance, the worse they get, and the more damage they get. It's a trade of resources.
He's better in 66. No,
what would the animation look like if done professionally? Whoop, 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 way. Whoop. There you go. Is that okay, Paranuma? You want to clip that? Whoop, 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 way. And he can, and do you know what I'd do? I'd make it go a foom, 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 right? Big loud sound every single time so you can count it down. You know exactly when it's happening. It's perfect. It works perfectly. This is a really easy fundamental fix, but yeah.
No, he's not. Because the thing with Roadhog in 5v5 is he can be very frustrating to play versus and against, but you can just go, there's more space to go around him.
And then he probably wouldn't go way after it, but yeah.
He gatekeeps angles. He's very difficult to get out of, and playing with a Roadhog legitimately sucks, because in 66 you are more reliant off of having not an optimal tank combo, but a functional tank combo that can at least take heat, and Roadhog is very inconsistent at doing that. So what it does is that when you're playing with a Roadhog, it's a very unpleasant experience as a tank player.
Yep, and it's very easy to fix, and I fixed it because I am intelligent and smart and handsome and fundamental. Yeah, very humble. Should be able to keep holding it for longer since he can't do anything else while he's holding it, like 3 seconds. You know what? Voop, voop, voop. And after the second voop, on the third he can throw it, or he can throw it on the 4th or the 5th. Yeah? You happy? Voop, 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 voop. And it changes the sound effect of the third one. Yeah? But you Didact roasted it all. No, Didact's absolutely incredible, and I love them implicitly. They have been absolutely amazing in terms of implementing those. The amount of work they put into this mode, I cannot overstate, and I can't thank them enough. You can make it like Jet Dash in Valorant, where you click it, wait, then you have to small window to use it. Yep. And it forces something out of the enemy team to stop the hook. The hook is still better off on an angle. The hook is more interesting. The hook can still insta-kill. But you would remove the fact that DPS players wouldn't like it as much because they would get less insta-kills because they move the enemy around instead. Right? I do think that reworking this in 5v5 is a lost cause.
So I think that unfortunately, I don't like to do videos where I have nothing but criticisms, but that's all I have for you. We usually like to provide some sort of constructive feedback. We did have the tank rework project video. You guys can find that on YouTube. And we did have some ideas.
We were talking about my idea. Yeah, all right.
But this is really trying to take a bologna and banana sandwich and trying to fix it. And I don't think
turning into Thresh from League of Legends. I need to look this up. So court character
League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring Thresh, the Chain Warden.
What delightful ammunition.
Thresh is a short-range beefy support champion who excels at manipulating the position of himself, his enemies, and his allies. Can bring in an ally to gank from far away, save them from peril, or dive into the action himself.
Can't hold the spool indefinitely. What's stopping people from just kiting LOS? That's fine. If they want to kite LOS, that's absolutely fine, Azan. Do you know what you do? You make it so that he can cancel it and start charging it up again, so they have to kite LOS again. If he can constantly force LOS wherever he is, he's tanking! He's moving them around through soft pressure, that's fine! Pull up League and play the jump now.
Thresh's passive is damnation.
I don't hate myself that much.
Unlike other champions, Thresh does not gain armor per level. However, when nearby enemies die, they drop souls that Thresh can collect by walking over them. As Thresh collects these souls, he permanently gains armor and ability power. Death Sentence has a passive and an active effect. Passively, Death Sentence causes Thresh attacks to deal bonus damage, based upon the number of souls harvested, his total attack damage, and how long it's been since his last attack. When activated, Thresh throws out his scythe, damaging and pulling in the first enemy it hits. After hitting an enemy, Thresh may reactivate Death Sentence to pull himself to his target.
That's permakiting you in infinite space? Yeah, what are we even talking about? That was the point!
A point in Death Sentence at level 1 and maxing it by level 13.
The box.
Let's start with Thresh's laning. Always make your best effort to collect the souls that drop from enemy minions.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I think a different condiment is going to fix that problem. Are they going to delete Roadhog? No, but I think this is probably something that's going to take a long time to slowly address. I think they need to try some weird things with him. And
no,
I can say this, but he needs to remain back.
Spilo,
he needs to remain not particularly...
Shut up! Shut up. I can fix it tomorrow, I just don't want to because it doesn't matter if I fix it because every single tank in 5v5 is similar to Roadhog, so why would you specifically make Roadhog a more fair hero when none of the fucking tanks are fair because D.Va can micro you from across the map and kill you instantly from anywhere, and that is just the world we're in. Why would I fix specifically Roadhog, who is a problematic character in this one specific way, a tiny bit more maybe than the other characters, but at this point I feel like D.Va's more unfun than Roadhog to play against. It is all bad. We're like an infinite bucket of bad, and you're like, this guy's bad, and I'm like, yeah, and you're like, fix this guy, and I'm like, what's the point? It's all the apples are rotten, why you give me a bucket of rotten apples? If we're reworking it for 6v6, I'll fix it. I have fixed it, it works perfectly, and I even know how to fix it better if I could be asked to, but it's a little bit janky, the implementation. But yeah, the 5v5, it's just a lost concept, and that's what I'm trying to get across. That's what I'm trying to explain to people with the final argument from my video. It's just broken.
Really decent. Not trash tier so that anyone who Roadhog can purposely throw the game, but he should never even sniff meta anywhere at any time.
Sniff meta.
Yeah.
And Spilo thinks I can't do it because I didn't want to do it in the video, because it detracted from my main point, which was that every video, every character is more like Roadhog now than it was before.
I want to see what Ralph has to say because...
we could even make the hook charge up, it's just janky, so we didn't. Exactly.
I think Ralph has a lot of good takes on things, has a lot of really good ideas, and he also made a video on Roadhog. And so we're going to go back and we're going to watch...
Thanks, Spilo, you're attractive too. I love you.
I assume that we're going to have some similar takes.
Look at the difference in skin color between us two. Right, look at this, right? Look at this skin color. Look at mine. I'm the most British person you've ever seen. I sat in the sun for half an hour today. I might have got a tan.
And maybe he'll have more ideas than I do on like what the character actually needs.
Did you forget my thing?